What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a Christmas album by Kelly Clarkson. Basically this project is called Wrapped in Red and it came out in the fall of 2013. So the thing about this particular product is this is the sixth album by Kelly Clarkson after a series of hit albums throughout the 2000s and early 2010s as far as this pitch is going to happen. So good type fare. She was originally on American Idol and pitches like that. If you didn't know, just within that fare, it's kind of, it's from back in the day, but I look after the pitch. So it's a good type fare to be able to get some of this here. I just look within the aspect. It's definitely like a pretty classic album in terms of the Christmas aspects. So it's not, for the most part, it's not super common that I would almost see to give. Like, it hasn't been too many times as of this point that I've given like a Christmas album like a 10 out of 10. It's not because it's not capable of doing it, but it's just within the pitch of just being able to say the concept of just the selection of songs just within the pitch and them just having the right format. But Kelly Clarkson delivers on a lot of hit songs here. Just has the quality behind it. And the thing about it is, yeah, just being able to say the selection of Christmas songs on this particular album is pretty apt within the tone behind it. I do like the pitch behind. There's some excellent type songs on this particular album from Kelly Clarkson as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just some good type fares to be able to get here. Just incorporates a lot of styles within those particular pitches. Has some good type flares about it. Is some differential type one. She also puts 5 new songs on here as far as those pitches kind of happen. So Kelly Clarkson does delve into like the Christmas territory as far as doing that on her own. It's not necessarily just being full-blown covers in terms of some of those pitches. When I reviewed the Smash Mouth album a few weeks ago, it was kind of within the pitch. So I just looked after it, just kind of questioned it. Like, it was kind of a minor disappointment that Smash Mouth didn't really have that many original songs just within the concept, especially if you didn't appreciate every last cover song that they did. But I look after it, I like the concept that Kelly Clarkson kind of blurred like the lines between having some new stuff in there with like some good selections of songs to kind of have for like the Xmas seasons for those pitches kind of happen. It's not to complain about the Smash Mouth album. That was actually a rather thoroughly enjoyable type one. It was just within the pitch. I would have liked a few more original songs by them. But I just look after it here just within the tone behind it. This is a very nice, stylish type one to kind of get within that tone. It's very sleek and within the style behind it. I like the overall pitch that it particularly delivers upon. Some good type flares here. I recommend all 5 of the new songs, and for the most part, including the deluxe edition, the vast majority of these songs are pretty excellent just within the tone behind it. I would definitely recommend getting the deluxe edition that adds the 2 extra songs just within those pitches. Out of 16 songs across both versions of the album, I wound up recommending 13, so I'll just go ahead and say this album's going to get a 10 out of 10 just within that fare, just within the pitch behind it. Pretty, like, I know like the Mariah Carey Christmas album was a big deal. I know in terms of like R&B and like more pop type sound, the Mariah Carey Christmas album was a pretty big deal. One of the larger previous type ones are on that particular aspect. I'm not sure as to how many other like R&B singers like Mariah Carey, how many other R&B and pop singers like Mariah Carey, Kelly Clarkson, some of those type folks particularly did like a Christmas album. I want to say maybe Jessica Simpson did. Maybe I think there is a Destiny's Child one that's going to happen in the future as far as those pitches going to happen. I look after. I did like the concept of getting like that Destiny's Child one within the pitch, but just within the tone as far as that particular kind of goes, I look after it, just being able to say that there just are some ones that kind of have like a pretty solid aspect just within the tone of being able to talk about it. So I just look within the fare behind it. Yeah, this has 2 singles, one of which came out in the winter of one of which these singles came out in the fall of 2013, and the second single waited until the fall of 2014. So it's a pretty dope concept to kind of have 2 singles. That the promotion of this album lasted an extra year just to have 2 holiday seasons within as far as this pitch can happen. Pretty clever idea to kind of get that just within the tone. So that's the basic concept. This album kind of was a big deal. Apparently this is the highest selling holiday album of 2013 as far as those pitches can happen with it. These singles did a relatively good job. I'm going to check and see how long Underneath the Tree kind of particularly did, because I want to see just the chart appeal behind that one. Yeah, that song hit number 11 on the Billboard 100 back in 2013, so it's a pretty big deal for that particular pitch behind it. And like the second single that came out a year later, Wrapped in Red, hit number 2 on the adult contemporary. So it's just within that tone. But yeah, just a good concept. I mean, the concept behind nailing a Christmas album is just the aspect like Justin Bieber attempted it also, and it's just within the pitch. It has to kind of have like some sort of holiday pizzazz about it that just has like the smash hit kind of appeal. It's not to say like I would just, I'm trying to coach that particular concept, but just within the tone as far as saying within the aspect as far as saying, like, this kind of feels more likened to kind of having like that holiday pizzazz and capturing the energy, because when you think of like Christmas carols and songs that are like particularly Xmas related as far as those pitches, for the most part it's the oldies that are usually the best goodies within those pitches. The ones from like the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, some of those type fares just in particular, it's a little bit like there are like the occasion one, like I feel like the Mariah Carey song from the 90s is definitely one that continues to have that appeal, but in terms of that, for the most part, it seems kind of here and there, where a Christmas album usually lasts for like that particular a year that it comes out, and then it kind of dissipates into the mist. But I'd have to say this is an album that I think resonates within a particular tone. It's definitely a notable Christmas album within recent times, and this is actually like a Christmas album. Like when I reviewed last week, when I talked about like the Three Doors Down album not being much of like much Christmas altitude within it. It was kind of within Christmas, but it just did not vary within the tone from like going from like a month like July or August to like a month like November, December. It's just the same type pitch, and they had the same altitude the whole way. And Smash Mouth just had a more bustling type holiday season, and the Jim Jones album was more about the recession and the bill paying as far as those pitches can happen. But this particular one, I lost track of the point I was trying to say. That's kind of unfortunate, but I look within the tone. It's just within the aspect as far as saying that. I guess just suffice to say that it had the holiday bustle as far as those pitches can happen. I'm probably going to be pissed at myself for not remembering the point that I was trying to get across here. But we'll go ahead and talk about the album here. Just to say, like I was saying, there's only 3 songs out of the entire edition that I don't recommend, just to say within that tone. So the first single is Underneath the Tree, and this is like a jivey kind of holiday bustle, and amongst like the winter air, I'd say here, it's some good outing music and a smarmy kind of gem to kind of get within that tone. So smarmy, what I mean is just a bubbly and just overall this real pep type tone to kind of get within that real appeal. It's a real feel good type one that just gets you real within the Christmas spirit, Xmas spirit, some of that holiday cheer just within the pitch behind it. Definitely reminds me of like the Mariah Carey song that's hit #1 across these past several years, even though it came out back in the 90s, I'd have to say, just within that relative pitch about it. But this is definitely one that's just amidst like the Black Friday furor and pitches like that, some of those type holiday season just chaos that kind of goes along with it. I'd have to say just real amongst the concept, something you just would hear all over the place, like a Target or a Walmart where there's going to be holiday shopping, and just like shopping malls, strip malls, some of those type pitches, just places like that, clothing stores where this everything's going to be sold out and stuff in long lines. It's kind of a good holiday type bustle about it. Definitely think the song deserved to hit its high appeal just within the aspect of what it did. It's a good, pretty nice one just to say within the note bill. And I think that was something amongst the point that I kind of had before, as far as me saying that just most holiday albums just didn't particularly have the continued distinction just within the tone. But this is one that does have that relative appeal. I think Underneath the Tree is a pretty good bop to kind of hear within a sense. It'd be nice to kind of have that back on the radio every now and again. I'd say it's pretty good appeal behind it. Real good feel, real good smarmy type energy. Wrapped in Red was the second single. That was the holiday single for 2014. That was the holiday single for 2014, I'd have to say. And this is a pretty nice one as well. Both these are, obviously these are Kelly Clarkson. Both these obviously are Kelly Clarkson originals as far as those pitches can happen. They could have been cover songs that Kelly Clarkson marketed as a single, but both these are original songs by her, so it's pretty good fare for that. But Wrapped in Red is kind of amidst the holiday traverse and chaos. I'd have to say about this particular song, just a chipper and kind of productive outs to kind of get here, and just a makeshift joy to kind of have. This one's not quite as crazy as the previous one, Underneath the Tree, but it's just kind of amidst like the standard disc out and about where you just would be shopping, just a little bit more, not so much like calm within the sense of just it being lazy within a sense, but just kind of the concept of just, just the standard kind of enjoyment of just humming along, this standard kind of chipper type mood, I'd have to say, within the pitch behind it. Just a good type concept, kind of get some of that extra holiday cheer just within the shopping mall type pitch behind it. So it's just good type tone. It's kind of a more at ease, but still a nice bop to kind of get within that pitch behind it, I'd have to say. Yeah, I would say Wrapped in Red is just some great holiday brush just to kind of get within that tone, I would definitely feel like. So that's a good type fare for that. So yeah, in terms of like the songs I recommend on here, talk about all 16 of these songs. The only 3 songs I don't recommend in any fashion would just be basically Just for Now, Silent Night, and then there's one other one on here, like Just for Now, Silent Night, and then Oh Come, Emmanuel, I'd have to say, just within the pitch behind it. So I look after those particular songs. Basically, Silent Night, I mean, the rendition of this particular one, it just keeps like the fare behind it. It's just the same sort of song as the normal Christmas Carol, just within the pitch. I mean, it does have like Reba, which I think is Reba McEntire, and Trisha Yearwood within the pitch, but it's just the same slimmer bass type fare. It works for what it is, but it is kind of more of like a churchy type song just within that aspect behind it. It's the same thing with Oh Come, Emmanuel, as far as those pitches kind of happen. Both those particular songs have a little bit more just kind of more faith-ish kind of type tone just within the pitch behind it, around that relative type aspect. And then Just for Now is just kind of a sage and just calmer type one. It's a little bit more of just like a robust kind of altitude just within the pitch behind it. Just more in like the kind of chipper, but just in a more patiently chipper type aspect just within the tone behind it. Not to say there's a problem within that pitch, it just within that particular fare, but it's just this kind of concept that it just doesn't have much spark in terms of like the holiday spirit. It just feels a little bit more like just expecting that things are going to be plainer just within the sense as far as just like the aspect. It's just a little bit more sage, that particular song, than than normal, I'd have to say. But within the pitch, yeah, once again, this album gets a 10 out of 10. So I'm just going to run through the list with a lot of these. Like some of these songs on here, like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is a nice one. It's like a relaxive kind of fireplace and winter simmer to kind of get here. Just Kelly with like a holiday frolic about this one. Very similar within that relative type pitch. It's some good kind of hot cocoa and latte type music to kind of have for some of that kickback. There are some other ones like that, like Blue Christmas is a good example of that. It's like a mellow kind of eggnog and winter glistening activity to kind of get here. It's brisk but relatively sunny, loungy to kind of have within that aspect about it, just within the fair. Apparently this was an Elvis song, pretty good pitch. Didn't realize he did Christmas music within that particular fair. I mean, I don't know super ton about Elvis full blown, but I don't know Elvis's full blown, but maybe at some stage I can see some of those. But just within the pitch, it's a nice one. White Christmas is another kind of around the neighborhood type one. This is like a nice evening retire to definitely get here. Just a bristly and kind of toasty holiday kickback I would feel within that pitch. It's vintage kind of holiday flavor and a very comfy type song. But some of these type ones, there are some ones for just around stretching around the house, the fireplace, some of that type fair, just retiring from like the winter snow and just the holiday bite and bustle as far as those pitches kind of happen just within the fair behind it. Blue Christmas, White Christmas, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, some of those type ones. I'd probably say there's a few other ones on here. There's actually a Kelly Clarkson song that has that particular pitch, one of her original songs that would be Every Christmas. But actually, I guess I'll talk about some of those type songs, get to some of those before we get to the cover songs, because I feel like these are some nice ones as well. I do recommend all 5 of Kelly Clarkson's original songs, like I was saying. So Every Christmas is like a swashed and glazed kind of holiday after moments, I'd have to say here. Just some great lounge music and a good goodies and chat type tune to kind of get within that tone. So by goodies, it's the concept of just getting like some hors d'oeuvres, some pitches like that, standard appetizers, pitches like that, some of that type fair eggnog, some of those type pitches, holiday, crackers, cookies, snacks, some of that type of stuff. Just a good song to chat up and just have some of that particular fair as far as those particular pitches kind of go along with it. It's good after moments just to have within that relative type fair. Basic kind of saunter and like the winter brush as far as those pitches kind of happen. Winter Dreams is a nice quality one as well. Now this is kind of a concept that just doesn't often happen as much in like more recent times. I feel like for the most part it just has more retire in mind seemingly with certain holiday songs, but this is actually one that feels more out and about. It's like an out and about kind of in like the outdoor winter era, I'd have to say here. Is enjoying like the snow and breeze about it, I'd have to say within that pitch, and it's like some vintage kind of holiday brushes within the fair. So it's just kind of the concept if you do feel like stepping out of bed, just putting on your snow boots, some of those type fairs, just within the pitch behind it, just appreciating like the certain pitches without just some of that, just liking the fresh air in like the winter time, some of that type fair. It's just a good concept to have like a sled, or it's a good type concept to just appreciate like the winter air and some of that type fair just within the pitch behind it. And then 4 Carats is a nice one. So this is like an amongst the holiday shopping chaos and traffic to kind of get within that tone. It's really amongst that particular noise of it, and it's like some definite traffic dredge to kind of get here. I'd have to say just a bustling kind of typical December day, I'd have to say within that pitch. So this is kind of one. There are some songs like Wrapped in Red and Underneath the Tree that feel like standard holiday bustle. The songs that you're going to hear shopping mall, strip mall, some of that type fair, especially in the holiday season, just going to be interchangeable with like that Spotify kind of holiday playlist. But this is just a nice one. This one just really feels like a busybody type song. This really feels like a holiday bustle type song, this busybody type fair to kind of get within that pitch. Real nice one on here would be Run Run Rudolph. This reminds me definitely like 50s roller type music, just a grease kind of ride about and commute to kind of get within that tone. Just good bar hop and dance jive to kind of get within that pitch. It's some place where you'd have jukeboxes, more saloon type fair, some of those type pitches. This is like a dance type tune. This is definitely one of the more retro songs on here, along with Blue Christmas, that I'd say within that particular fair. Just a good concept kind of get within that. Kind of one that has like the social fare about it, but just in a little bit more of like this throwback type style. It's kind of like a Christmas song for badass vibes as far as those pitches kind of happen, at least in a retro kind of badass vibe, I would have to say within that pitch. Maybe the 80s could pull off this particular style as well. The 50s or 80s greaser type style just within the pitch behind it. I had to say within that tone was definitely like a jukebox and kind of bar hopping type tune to kind of get within that fair. It's probably one of the few ones. I'm glad that there were some social aspects about this. Like when I reviewed some previous Christmas albums, like the Justin Bieber Christmas album, the Smash Mouth one, in terms of like something that could be played at like something within a relative kind of venue sense of almost like a dance club, but just something with a little bit more socialness to kind of have some jive and maybe like some drinks in your system, something like that. The relative kind of flirty kind of Christmas just within the tone of like that holiday spice. I feel like there are some moments for that on here. Like I feel like songs like My Favorite Things and like Baby It's Cold Outside, some of those type pitches have like some of the 60s swinging type vibes, but for the most part, minus like the song Underneath the Tree, that for the most part this is a little bit more kind of like simmering within the pitch, but I do like the tone as far as being able to say that it does have some jive about it on the relative sense. And Run Run Rudolph is kind of one of those type ones, but it's just in a little bit more of like a throwback type sense for like a relative groove about it. But it's just within the pitch and be able to get some of those. There are some up tempo type moments on here, which I am glad for. Please Come Home for Christmas is another stock one, just like with some of that toastiness. It's like a bleary kind of crisp winter schmooze to kind of get here within that tone. Just cocoa music, coffee, some of that type pitch. Good song to get toasty too as far as those pitches going to happen. Good amount of these particular type bops. It's more in like a simmering type sense. It's some good curl up to some good lounge type music along with songs like Blue Christmas, White Christmas, some of those type ones. I'll Be Home for Christmas, some of those type pitches I'd have to say. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, some of those type fares I had supposed in particular. This vintage type flair within some of that. My Favorite Things is probably one of my more favorite songs on here. This is a pretty popular one on Spotify as well. It's one of the few ones that, yeah, this is one of the more popular songs according to Spotify. It's like a spicy kind of holiday night on the town. I would definitely feel here. Just bright lights, kind of vintage swinging bop to kind of get within that tone. This definitely has some social flavor. So it's a good aspect, kind of have some of this. This reminds me of something like the Lady Gaga, Tony Bennett kind of vibe just within that particular pitch about it. Just takes it back real to like the 60s type vibe. This one feels a little bit more contemporary though. I mean, it feels like it's from the 60s or early 70s, but it's just within the pitch that has enough spice and bite about it that just within the tone that fits very well just in the tone behind how that Xmas type music actually works for us. This is a relatively contemporary type one that has the appeal and nails it just within the spice of like the holiday energy. Baby It's Cold Outside is another one that's pretty similar to that. It's like a ruffled kind of holiday gab here. This is a duet with a cat named Ronnie Dunn. It's a pretty good pitch for that. And this is like a spiffy kind of gathering and grub occasion, kind of get within those tones. I would definitely feel like this maybe more neighborhood more so than venue or step out. This one's not quite as bright lights as much as My Favorite Things, but it is pretty like relative jive about it. It's like a nice vibe and pace kind of get within this particular song. So it's a good bickering type song within that particular tone. Just some of that standard spice of fare as far as those pitches kind of happen with it. Good timeness kind of get. And then I'll Be Home for Christmas is a nice one as well. It's like a busybody kind of dreary holiday dredge kind of get within that particular fare of it. Just nice slow cruise home just within that particular fare. Just a comfy kind of settle in to kind of have within that aspect about it. So it's just some more type ones. It's probably one of the more comfy songs on here. I'd have to say apart from White Christmas and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It's a real nice one. Just kind of appreciate the aspect. Probably driving at like 20 miles an hour or something like that. Just a relatively slow pace. Just kind of in like a relative like mellow type mode. Just kind of the concept of just feeling affable. Just a relatively kind of plain and straightforward just kind of demeanor about oneself as far as those pictures will kind of happen with it. Just relative like just happy, I would just have to say in like an affable type mood and mode as far as those pitches will kind of happen along with it. I'd have to suppose about that. So I think I'd talk about every song on here as far as those pitches kind of go just within that standard type fare. Definitely some good aspects here. So this album gets a 10 out of 10 just within that particular pitch. Social score, that's kind of tricky. I would give this album a social score of a 10 out of 10, but I look within the fare. I kind of have to say, I mean, I definitely feel like some of the more energetic type songs, Kelly Clarkson has a pretty good energy on this product that just needs to be harnessed within the correct type pitch. I definitely think she works extremely well with songs like Underneath the Tree and My Favorite Things, some of those type pitches. I do think some of these more kind of relaxive, kind of toasty type songs and comfy type songs for like the holiday retired do work within a certain pitch behind it. Kind of gives it the more bluesy type feeling of like yesteryear kind of Christmas, just standard stock kind of Christmas carols and pitches like that. But I look within the tone, it has the moods and modes of Christmas season as far as this pitch can happen. I realize that Christmas is not full blown about as much like the standard kind of craze, just kind of get carnivorous kind of outings and like bar hopping and social jive and dance clubs as far as those pitch can happen. But I look within the tone, I do feel like it's probably, I mean, there is some holiday bustle on here, and there is a little bit of winter out and about. It's like Winter Dreams is a real nice one to kind of get for like some out and about, just kind of in the winter air and just outdoors within that pitch. But for the most part, there's just more neighborhood housebound type pitches more so than the full-blown bustle, just either shopping or going out and socializing, restaurant type music, some of that type bustle, dance clubs, some of those type venue type places. And the pitch behind is just within the tone. It's a little bit more retired, but look after it's just within the tone. So I'd probably give the social score. I'll give the social score like a 9.25 just because I look after within the pitch behind it. These songs are good and the choices of songs are really excellent on here. They're very affable. The melodies are real great. The energy of this album is pretty excellent just within the tone behind it. The way that this album is delivered and the conic behind it is basically there, but it's just within the pitch. They probably could have used at least a song or two more. Maybe something like Jingle Bell Rock would have been a nice one. Some of those type fares are just something with a little bit more uppity bite as far as something that could get a little bit more ass shaking or some good type tones to be able to have like some good pitches of just like like some more kind of bustle. I definitely feel like this is a pretty balanced type project, but I think it probably needed at least a song or two more in terms of like something with that relative craze type pitch. Like once again, like I was saying, something like Jingle Bell Rock, or a little bit more of like something with a good kind of get you up and kind of relative standing on couches type appeal, just within the aspect behind it. I had to say something within that relative type tone. I mean, it has it, but it's just kind of in a more modest supply, I suppose. It's just within the pitch behind it, I'd say. But that's, so in terms of the future, I'm not really as full blown sure what Kelly Clarkson's been up to in recent times. I know she's probably dropped albums at least up to like the mid 2010s as far as those pitches kind of happen. This was some pretty excellent type fare. I mean, she has like her own show that's kind of on ABC and some of those type pitches, the television network, just within the fare behind it, the Kelly Clarkson show as far as those pitches can happen. So I think she finds time here and there to put out more products. She's also been on this commercial. I've seen it in like some of the YouTube advertisements for you. It's called like Wayfair or something like that. It was just within the pitch as far as that particular one goes. So it's just some good type concepts. But just being able to say, I mean, this is a classic album here. Like I said, 10 out of 10 just within the pitch. Just the fact that and moreover, it's just more personal complaints just within the pitch. Just me giving like the social score like a 9.25 out of 10. Just being able to say, just when you listen to a song like Underneath the Tree or My Favorite Thing, some of those type pitches, when you don't get like maybe a good couple more, two or maybe even three more songs within that relative pitch, it just kind of has the tone, and you're just like shucks, something like that, just in the tone behind it. But yeah, I'd say that's the aspect behind that particular album. So it is a classic holiday album, definitely a very contemporary classic to like the 2010s, very notable and seminal out of the 2010s is to get this particular Christmas album. This might be like the Mariah Carey Christmas album of the 2010s, considering what she did for the 90s is basically what Kelly Clarkson did for the 2010s. Very notable, has the affableness, just real biting. Both the singles are pretty heavy hitting. All of the Kelly Clarkson original songs really hit the nail on the head, and it's just some excellent type fare.